This is the Brussels neighborhood of Molenbeek. It may look unassuming, but within lies a virtual hotbed of terror. 3 terrorists from November's Paris massacre came from here. It also connected to last year's Charlie Hebdo attack and the killing of 4 people at the Brussels Jewish Museum in 2014. Most of the Belgians who left to join ISIS also came from Molenbeek. It led French journalist Eric Zemmour to write, instead of bombing Raqqa, the ISIS capital, France should be bombing Molenbeek. Molenbeek here is perhaps the most infamous of areas in Belgium and throughout Europe that have become havens for radical Islam, and one reason why Brussels has earned the title the Jihad capital of Europe. Some might think Molenbeek is outside Brussels city limits. It's not.
It must be very confusing for outsiders, and I've read sometimes in the international press, Molenbeek, a suburb of Brussels, and so probably in the imagination of your average American viewer, probably thinking of the suburb. What is a suburb? Something 10, 15 miles outside the city center. But it's 1.5 kilometers or 1 mile or so from what is considered the Brussels city center.
A 20-minute walk would take you to the memorial for victims of the very attack that originated in the neighborhood. And Molenbeek is just one of many Islamic neighborhoods spread throughout Belgium.
We have also Anderlecht, Jet, Schaerbeek, some places of the city of Brussels, Laken, Vilvoorde, Verviers, other cities. So it's not only Molenbeek, but Molenbeek is certainly one of the most symbolic and representative.
Parliament member Vivian Teitelbaum says what went on in Molenbeek is an open secret.
Everybody knew what had been going on, what the socialist mayor was allowing to happen, the way he bought social peace with some mosques and some imams. So yes, he allowed for those radicals to evolve in a context where they were not threatened by any means and where they could develop their strategy.
She's referring to Molenbeek's former mayor, socialist Philippe Moreau.
He has really turned a blind eye to what has happened, the parallel societies, the radicalization, and anybody who tried to alert the public to what's going on was immediately shut down by him.
But Molenbeek is just one example of radicalized neighborhoods throughout Europe.
In those places, you have first a very strong homogeneous population. So you have quarters, areas, neighborhoods that are entirely Muslim. And therefore, it's also a community effect because you can blend in very easily. You can hide, obviously, like Abdeslam Salah, without having any threats of things leaking to the outside.
A French minister recently claimed at least 100 of these enclaves exist in France.
Molenbeek, of course, is the most famous example now. Brussels is called the Jihad capital of Europe, and I think it's correct, but you can also say that of parts in London or parts in France, in Paris. You have the same, of course. Marseille is a very well-known example. But I think Molenbeek is indeed one of the worst cities in Europe. It's a perfect place and hiding place for jihadists and for Sharia Muslims to make a caliphate, a little caliphate there.
Today, we have clear and imminent threat on Europe.
Counter-terrorism expert Claude Moniquet says the numbers add up to a massive threat.
Official European Union figure, we have between 7,000 and 10,000 European people or residents linked to the jihad in Syria. And at those people, you must add probably 5,000 to 10,000 followers, sympathizers, which could maybe radicalize and become terrorists tonight or tomorrow morning.
The challenge today is the balance between security and respect of our values and freedom. How do you organize the society so that you can face the war to those radicals and at the same time allow people to continue their way of life? That's the challenge today in the free world.
Van Roy says Europe should see Molenbeek as a warning.
In Belgium or in Flanders, we are not yet a minority. We have 7%, almost 7% Muslims in Belgium. But in some cities and in some areas, We are already a minority, like in Molenbeek, for example, and you see what is the result of that. Terrorism, jihadism, Sharia law introduced. So never become a minority.
He recommends listening to former Muslims.
I know many of them, and they all say the same. Don't let your country Islamize, because Islam is a violent ideology, and they can know it because they experienced it. Why shouldn't we believe these people? We also believed former communists who said the same about communism. Well, the same goes for Islam. We should listen to the people who experienced it.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Molenbeek, Brussels.